Well, I don't remember a time where I was afraid. Of course, I try to, only take calculated risks, let's say, and not do anything stupid. Sometimes it might happen, but it's definitely not conscious. I really try to listen to my gut feeling. I think it's been developed over the last few years, and I just trust it. Every time I do something, I just listen to my gut feeling. And if it tells me to do it, then I'll do it, even though I might be scared.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. And this is one of the few episodes, except my son and maybe a couple of other people, that my guest today has been in my podcast before. And one of the reasons is because she is really a very, very interesting person. And the other reason is that the last time we spoke, she had just started a new job. She is the famous lady who was a lawyer for Swiss Airlines, Swiss International Airlines, and decided to become a flight attendant. And I found her somewhere on social media and contacted her because it fascinated me, the choice that she made, because I can understand her. And that episode went live in December 2022. That's now nearly a year and a half later. And she had just finished her basic training. So let's talk about what happened. Welcome to Most Memorable Journeys, Noémie Frischknecht.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. So glad to be here again. And I do remember our conversation back in 2020 with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of positive feelings. So I'm really happy to be back.
So you had been on a couple of flights. You had not trained on all aircraft types yet. And then I've been watching you on social media. I'm stalking you literally because I'm fascinated by everything you do. How is it going?
Yeah, it's going very, very well. To be honest, it will remain most probably the best professional decision I have ever taken. I do love the job still after 1.5 years. And I'm really, really happy where I am.
What do you like most? What is your favorite part? Apart from traveling, of course, which is our common passion, but what else do you like most about doing what you're doing?
So one of the things I really like about the job is that with very little, let's say, effort, I can make somebody stay. So during especially long haul flights, I love to write cards. If there's, for example, a passenger that is extremely kind or that I'm having an interesting conversation with, I write a card to them. And we also have a so-called surprise drawer on board on each long haul and short haul flight. So we can give little gifts to our passengers if we think that's appropriate, just like, for example, a selection of teas or a chocolate, or even sometimes a beanie or a plastic plane. So we do have some options to brighten somebody's day. And that's really something that I love about this job.
I think for the people who are listening to this podcast episode, this is an important fact to know, because it's worth being nice to the flight attendant. Now, what is the disadvantage? Have you come across people who are difficult or hard to handle?
It does happen. But usually, first of all, I try not to take it personally because it hardly ever is. I don't think it actually ever is. And that's not limited to aviation or plane journeys in planes, but just anything is personal in life when it comes from a third party. So, I just let that person calm down. Maybe it's because they're upset because, baggage got lost, or because they've missed a flight, or they're going to miss a connection. So that can mean that somebody could be upset and they might just take it out on me. But, usually just they calm down with time.
I think that's the perfect attitude in life altogether anyway, because when people are mean to you or unpleasant to you or to me, it's their problem, really, not ours at the end of the day. And it's something that happened to them. So I think that's a good advice, to never take it personally. And because we are both, apart from you being a flight attendant and a lawyer and me being all sorts of things, we both like personal development, and we both like taking responsibility for our decisions and our lives. So we are definitely on the same wavelength when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think personal development has become one of my, if not my greatest passion in life. Yeah. So, whenever something, let's say, negative happens, I also take it as a learning opportunity, because sometimes things do affect me, but I just try to reframe it and learn from it and grow. So I even see that positively.
And you understand that this is applicable in anything you do, whether you are, whatever you are, whether you are a sales assistant, a flight attendant, anybody who has to do with people. It's about understanding that basically, what is the phrase? What you see in me is a reflection of you. Those the people who are really, really, they are unhappy mostly.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's always, I think, a reflection of who we are.
Yeah. So you like dealing with people, you like being with people, you like making people happy. And I'm sure, and I have flown a lot in my life. I would love to be on a flight with you one day, because I am sure that you are a fantastic travel companion. Also, I wanted to ask, of course, you like the traveling bit, which comes with the business. Is there anything that you don't like so much, or that you feel, okay, it's part of the deal, but I have to do it?
Yes, of course. I mean, the financial aspects, let's say, is challenging. I think we talked about it in the first episodes. I do earn considerably less than before, and I'm still trying to figure out how to manage that. To be honest, still living off my savings a little bit. That might change in the future, but it still is a challenge. And I think the second aspect that completely surprised me, because the financial aspect didn't, is loneliness, because we are that many colleagues that we hardly know each other when we meet for the first time during the briefing, and we work together. I think we do a great job in team building in that short amount of time, but then we also say goodbye again. So it's really hard to maintain or to build up a friendship in that sort of environment, and I completely lack a stable team. So I would say we're all pretty much lone wolves when it comes to our job, and that's definitely something that surprised me, and that is a challenge for me.
And it's also quite challenging to keep friends in Switzerland where you are, because your life is very, very irregular. You have to really, really plan well. And like you work on a Sunday, or you work on a Saturday when there is a dinner party. And so that must be quite complicated as well.
Yes, it is rather complicated. I mean, I've been working 9 to 5 almost all my life so far. So most of my friendships, they are with people that do work a 9 to 5. And so we really need to, either try to plan ahead as much as possible or take it very spontaneously. Both ways, I would say, work and sometimes don't work. Yeah, sometimes I just need to get lucky to see people and to have people available when I'm back in Zurich.
On the other hand, you will look back in a few years and you will say it was all worth it, because what you are doing right now is absolutely fantastic. As I said, I'm following you, I'm watching you, and every time she does this thing, and I think that should be me. I should have done that. One of the things that you've done recently that I really, really want to do one day is skiing in Japan. You were working, you weren't you? You were on a layover.
I was on a layover. That was my first flight of the year, and it just gave me the opportunity to snowboard in Japan. It was one of the things that were on my bucket list, and a great new experience. Yeah.
It's on my bucket list. I missaid it, because you snowboard. I'm old fashioned. I ski. So is the snow really that much different in Japan?
I'd say it's probably more powdery, because it gets mixed with some sea salt, because obviously Japan is surrounded by the sea. But then, I didn't go, let's say, only for the snow. I really went for the experience of just, snowboarding so far away from where I usually go, which is the Swiss Alps.
But you've done a ton of other things during that stay. What else did you do? You went to the spa. I don't know what you call it, and you did all sorts of Japanese things. Tell me a little bit about it.
Oh, well, I went to a few onsens, which is like the hot spot, very typical of Japan. I think it's not limited to Japan, but in any layover, I try to experience life of that country as much as I can. It also applies to my private holidays, for example, when I go traveling. I don't like to keep it too international. I like to make it local. So whenever I go to a foreign place, I try, the local foods as much as I can. I try to especially also look for people to have conversations with, because I'm interested in hearing directly from them how life is every day. And these are, the things that I do in order to understand the culture better. And also, I think what I love about traveling and layovers is that whenever you experience something very different from what it's an opportunity for you to reflect on your own life and how you do things, your habits, and just broadens your horizon in the most beautiful way.
And it takes you out of your comfort zone all the time. I mean, you're at this point in your life. The comfort zone doesn't happen very often, does it?
Well, it still does. I mean, I would probably say I have quite a broad comfort zone, just because I do try to broaden it consciously. But there's still things that that scare me, and that that don't really come easily to me. Just mentioning, for example, skydiving, because I recently looked at the video again, and that's definitely out of my comfort zone. But with everything that it is outside of our comfort zone, it's a matter of deciding to do it, even though it scares us.
Was it on your bucket list, the skydiving? Was it planned, or did it happen because you ended up being somewhere where it was available?
No, it was definitely on my bucket list. I think for 2 years it has been, and yeah, I was so scared that I postponed it, I think once or twice, and then the third time I just did not find any excuse anymore. So I looked into the mirror, and I just told myself that this is the time, and this is the opportunity, and I should take it.
And how was it?
Scary. But that moment when you're sitting in the plane, and you know that you're next to jump, and every single cell in your body just screams no. But you jump. I mean, obviously I had a tandem master, so I did not do the jump myself, but I still gave him permission to jump on my behalf, let's say, and taking me with him. So it's a scary moment, but the beauty of it is, I think, once you're flying, you realize that you didn't die. And it's just the most blissful experience, because all of a sudden you're flying, and there's only the present moment. There's no past, no future. It's only you, and like the people that jumped with you, and the beautiful sunset that I got. And yeah, it was absolutely mesmerizing.
That's a very high dopamine shot, isn't it?
Definitely.
So talking about not being able to communicate sometimes, and you were recently in Saudi Arabia. How is the nose? Tell us about what happened. Was it on the first day?
I think on a second day, I walked into the glass wall of the National Museum, and I don't know. I seem to attract hospital experiences abroad. I think it was my fifth experience. But care was extremely good, and I was able to resume my travel shortly after. I'll have a checkup tomorrow, just to make sure that everything healed up well. So in that sense, I mean, I'm doing great. Yeah.
What was the hospital like?
Oh, just like any other hospital, really. When I was at the paramedics, they gave me a list of hospitals I could go to, and I just picked a random hospital because I didn't have any experience. And it was very efficient, and just, yeah, very good care.
Okay. And tell us about Saudi Arabia. I know that it is an up and coming tourism destination, or travel, a place people travel to, but lots of people are still putting up the hands in the air and say, oh my God, no, don't go there. You went there all by yourself as a woman. I am using all the cliches here. As a woman on your own, and you drove around in a car by yourself. And I think you slept in the car, didn't you?
Yeah, I did most of the time. So yeah, whatever you mentioned is true. I think a lot of people have quite, well, let's say, a wrong image in their head about what Saudi Arabia is. It has changed a lot in the last few days, last few years, maybe the last few days as well, because it changes really rapidly. But so it's no problem to rent a car as a solo female traveler. I did not have to cover up. A lot of people came to talk to me because they're extremely curious. And also, what touched me is, them being so grateful that I visited their country, and that almost like I gave it a voice by doing social media, and just help them to portray a different image from that country. And it honestly, I can I can tell you that the image a lot of people have in their heads is very far away from the actual reality.
How about feeding yourself or just general getting by? Let's say somebody who is listening here and who would want to do the same thing. Is there plenty of restaurants or places to eat available? If you don't want to sleep in the car, where would you sleep? Because you went to all those parks, national parks. Are there facilities?
Yes, of course. There's many facilities to eat, to sleep. There's loads of experiences that you can do, tours you can book. I mean, definitely in some of the remoter places, it's maybe a little bit harder to find people who speak English, for example. But nowadays with Google Translate, I mean, you don't really need a common language anymore, right? So yeah, you can find all of these things that we have back home easily.
I've noticed that you used Google Translate and I use it too. And I don't understand why we don't use it more often. It's so convenient. And I think most of the time it works out fine. Sometimes there is a little bit, a little misunderstanding can happen, but generally it's so developed that we can communicate. You met some really nice people. I saw a nice young lady that you were, I think, in the car with. How did you come across her? You didn't know her before, did you?
No, I didn't really know anybody before. But as I mentioned before, people are extremely approachable, men and women. And so I'm not sure which one you talked about because,
It's a young girl, actually, a young lady with short hair.
okay, the one that wasn't covered up. I met her at the Backstreet Boys concert in Riyadh. And we kept in touch. And since she lives in Jeddah, when I was there, I just contacted her and we met up again.
Did you know about the Backstreet Boy concert? Did you book that in advance or did you find, oh, you did, but you didn't go to Saudi Arabia because of that?
No, certainly not. No. Yes, I did. I'm not sure how, but I did know about it. And that was actually the only thing I booked besides the rental car before I went. And purely because, I've grown up with the Backstreet Boys. So in a way, I really wanted to see them. And I had missed all the European tour, the European concerts. And when I saw that they were playing in Riyadh, I just immediately knew that I was going to go, especially also because I did not expect the Backstreet Boys to play in Saudi Arabia.
What were the temperature? It's this we're talking here. It was beginning of February, wasn't it, or end of January when you went? What was the temperature like?
It depends a little bit where. I mean, close to the desert, it was very hot during the day and very, very cold during the night. And then there's, places by the sea where it's much more moderate, more like a Mediterranean climate.
Yeah. And people are generally very approachable and very nice. And you never had a problem with, covering up or being told that you should, like you would. Maybe my daughter traveled in Iran and she was never told anything as far as I remember. But people say that there is some kind of a police that goes around looking that you're covered. That doesn't happen in Saudi.
At least it hasn't happened to me. The only time I have covered up was in Medina, and I did that purely out of respect, because I know it's like one of the two holy places of Islam, or one of the two most holy places in Islam, let's say. So I just wanted to, it was a sign of respect, but it's not legally mandatory to cover up in any part of the country.
Amazing, amazing. So definitely, for someone who has been hesitating, you can recommend it.
Oh, 100%.
And it's beautiful and beautiful nature. Now, I want to go back. I don't know. There have been so many things that you've done since you started. Are there any other things that were exciting? I know that you were in the Everglades, and the one thing that fascinates me about you is that you always dare to sleep somewhere outside or to sleep somewhere in the car or in the nature. Or are you never afraid?
Well, I don't remember a time where I was afraid. Of course, I try to, only take calculated risks, let's say, and not do anything stupid. Sometimes it might happen, but it's definitely not conscious. I really try to listen to my gut feeling. I think it's been developed over the last few years, and I just trust it. Every time I do something, I just listen to my gut feeling. And if it tells me to do it, then I'll do it, even though I might be scared.
That's fantastic. And I think that is something, it's actually called intuition, isn't it? And that is something that many of us have kind of lost or I don't know, we often ignore our intuition and, listen to other people or listen to God knows what goes with the flow. And I think you have a very, very healthy and very good intuition. Now, when it comes to flying, working, do you have any favorite destination? Is there places that you really, really love to go to, or do you not mind at all? Another thing, can you wish as a flight attendant? Can you put in places that you would like to go to, or are you just told where you have to go?
I mean, you can always wish in life, right, for what you want to do. But I mean, practically speaking, we have a so-called bidding tool that we can use where we can indicate our preferences. It doesn't mean that you get to go on the flights that you want to go, but at least you can feed the system with information about where you prefer to go. And for me, well, while I'm open to any destination, because I think there's beauty in just all places on Earth, really. I do like to go to the US, especially because of its national parks. I think it's become my go-to country, which was surprising to me as well, because growing up as a teenager and being from a politically very active family, I hated that country just for its politics, and I could never have imagined that one day I really, really enjoyed going there.
I am absolutely with you. And as you know, I was a tour guide when I was young, and I've done lots of tours in the US. And it still is probably one of my favorite countries in the world, also because of its diversity, because there are so many different, the desert, the mountains, the canyons, the ocean, the Pacific, whatever. Is so much to do. And yes, I agree. I'm not always, I don't always like the politics, but definitely as a country. And even, I mean, I don't know how much I love New York. I don't know how much you like New York.
I was just going to mention New York because it's probably, well, let's say the only city or the one city that I really like, because usually I like to go into nature more than staying in the cities. But New York, there's something very special about that city. And that's also one of the reasons why I love going to the US, is because there's a different attitude there, a different energy when it comes to big projects and big dreams. Honestly, I feel like this American dream kind of thing is real. So if you tell somebody about your big goals, your big dreams, at worst, people just shrug and tell you whatever. And at best, they really support you in realizing these dreams. Whereas in Europe, or maybe in particular in Switzerland, people would come up with a lot of reasons why it's not going to work out. So, like if I told somebody I want to be the next Tony Robbins, people would tell me why it's never going to work out, why I don't have the capabilities to be that person. Whereas in the US, people would just, love the idea and then maybe even support you to make that dream a reality. And so that spirit really fascinates me as well.
Yes, definitely. I think that is a part of the American mentality. And of course, New York, the other good bit about New York is that people are so mixed. You come across so many different people, and you don't have to walk far. Like if you're on Fifth Avenue, you see all these rich people, and then you go just two avenues over, and you see the homeless and I don't know. It's just very, very diverse. It's fascinating. Has always fascinated me very much. And now you mentioned Tony Robbins, and I want to spend a little time on your other passion. I know that you're very, very versatile, from lawyer to flight attendant, and I'm sure you're a fantastic flight attendant. But I know that you have another passion, and your other passion is personal development, making life better, making your own life. Because, when we do personal development courses, we do them first because we want to maybe see clients as a coach. But basically, we do them for ourselves. I think we spend a lot when we realize, when we start doing something like that, we are changing as well. So how is that going? I know that you are a good motivational speaker.
Well, I'm just about to start my maybe hopefully career. I'm not sure if I can call it that, but or let's say project, because I discovered that my story can inspire a lot of people to get out of their comfort zone and to dare to do something, maybe even something that they've dreamed of for their whole lives. So it was pure coincidence that I was asked to give a speech in front of 120 people about my career change, and then I realized how much it touched people and that I really enjoyed it. Although I must admit, I'm always nervous going on stage. it's probably part of the process. And again, for me, an opportunity to go outside of my comfort zone. And so, yeah, I'm building up a little, well, hopefully getting bigger, but right now a little project of motivational speeches. And the website is actually going to go live in a few days.
So, because this is pre-recorded and we have a few weeks, I think I have 3 or 4 episodes that will go live before you. We will be able to put the website in the show notes. So if somebody wants to get in touch with Noémie, and you could do this, you're doing this mostly in Switzerland, in German, but you could obviously do this in English as well. I mean, if somebody wants to book you to speak in New York, would you say no?
Definitely not. No, I'd love to do that. I'd love to take up the challenge.
And sort of inspire people. I think your story, as what you did, is very, very inspiring. And as you said, the money is a thing. I mean, it is. But it's part. But do you think it's worth it?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. At the end of the day, money doesn't buy happiness. It can buy certain things that we might like, but at the end of the day, something else that I love about this job is I almost feel like I can collect stories on every single flight and during every single layover. So I don't know if you know the children's book, Frederick. There's a mouse that collects colors during wintertime or before winter, where all the other mouses actually mice.
That's okay. I was waiting because I was telling you before we started recording, I know very, very few people in Switzerland who speak such good English. That's fine.
So, yeah, you got me. Mice collect, food for the winter, and they don't really understand what Frederick is doing until the point where, all the food is gone. And then Frederick goes on stage and he tells them stories and basically keeps their hearts warm and keeps their hope up as well to live through the winter, even though there's no food left. And I think it's such a beautiful story because it tells you that inspiration and dreams, they can keep you going, even though you stand in the face of adversity. It doesn't really matter if you're driven by your own dreams and led by your own heart. That's got so much momentum in it.
Very beautiful. And I think the fact that we know that life has its ups and downs, we cannot always be well. I think if we were always high, we wouldn't appreciate. No, if we never felt down, we wouldn't appreciate the highs. It would be a flat line. We would be dead. So I think it's normal to want. Of course, I can imagine that sometimes you must be very, very tired. And me personally, when I am tired, I have a bigger tendency to get a little, I don't want to call it depressed, but feeling a little more down. So do you sleep well? Are you a good sleeper?
Generally speaking, yes, but I mean, jet lag is real. So I do suffer from some insomnia related to that. And I think the other part which makes it difficult is that we sometimes, during the flights, we usually get some rest, but this means very fragmented sleep. So I might get, 2 hours of sleep during the night and then come back home, let's say at 8 a.m., go back to sleep for three more hours, and then, start into my day, which means then I have slept 2 + 3 hours, which is not really healthy sleeping.
Okay. But you're young and that will pass. So that's okay. I am 100, as I said many times before, I am a huge fan. I think what you're doing is amazing, very, very inspiring. And you are not just doing it, you are also really, really milking it. You are enjoying your destinations where you go to, you visit places, you use so I am fascinated, and I follow you on Instagram. Another thing that people who are listening to us, you have a fantastic Instagram page and you post your stories, and I feel like I'm traveling with you sometimes. We will put that in the show notes as well so people can follow you, because it really is worth it. We are coming to the end always, but this is not the last time, because every time I see something of you, I think, I need to get in touch with Noémie because we need to do another episode. So for now, anything else that we forgot that we wanted to talk about? Do you remember anything, or are we done for today?
No, I think we're done for today. Maybe just, to add to what you said, yes, I do try to make the best of, the layovers, the flights and everything, but that should apply to every day anyway, not just because of the job. But some years ago, I realized that our life is definitely finite. And what I see as well, and I think that's also maybe one of the reasons why people like my story, is that a lot of us live life as if it was infinite, and that's unfortunately not true. So I think it's a good thing to make the best out of every single day.
Yes, I had Les Brown as a guest last week, and he has this phrase. He says, many people die at 25 and are buried at 80. And I know that's definitely not something that we wish for anybody that we love, because life is full of colors, and we should use the whole coloring box.
I definitely agree. Yeah.
So this is it for today. Thank you so much for being again on Most Memorable Journeys. Till next time, Noémie Frischknecht.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.